All right, let's get into it. Where are we at? It is 10:46 on the 6th of November. So things are starting to sort of heat up a little bit at the moment. I mean, the main thing on the agenda is obviously this election kind of stuff. But from what I've sort of seen or heard, 11:30 this morning, Melbourne time, so 45 minutes from now, they're going to have I don't know how relevant this is to what's actually happening in the US, but the local news is saying, we'll be doing the live coverage of the count, yada yada. Um, that's all very well on that. But I think sort of by most accounts, it almost sort of seems like they're not going to have a result for a while. And this could be possibly for, another week or so. And who knows, could even be longer than that. It's not really my wheelhouse. But point being is that sort of like while everybody's been saying, oh, Trump's definitely a win, and as I said, I don't really get into politics, but I hope he smashes it. But it seems like, particularly as we saw on Monday morning, there's a little bit of a sort of a walk back of that idea, and obviously DXY has been sort of brought up, or supposedly that's been the sort of driving force behind it sort of moving up in the last week or so, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Um, and that's obviously sort of peeled back a little bit because they're sort of thinking, okay, hold on, wait, maybe it's not such a sort of guaranteed thing, such a sure thing. So I'll get to DXY in a moment because that's really sort of come off the boil on that. What I want to start with here is gold. Um, this was an interesting trade down here yesterday. So I was actually sort of talking to a mate that I was trading with, and as we went through this period here, and I was long in this period here for the idea that the support would hold again. Uh, Came down here, stopped out. That's fine. Came down here, and he's like, and prior to this, he's like, oh, so you won't short it? And I said, nah, nah. Look, I'm not going to short this under this level here, purely for the fact that look at how many support areas, potential support areas we've got here. Oh, it's a direction color. It's a pinpoint. Oh, okay, I don't know what the hell just happened there. Let's just do this. Back to the normal. These potential areas where buyers would be happy, down here, here, and here, this is the reason I didn't short it. And as you can see, down, held it to the line of this wick back here. So close, actually, if you zoom that right in, it's close enough that the alert didn't go off, but it pretty much kissed it to the cent. I suppose actually that, technically, if it was the bottom wick, should be there. So it came right down here and then sort of boom, springboarded back up. I actually got long again down this area here, out a few times through here, and on we go. So certainly there's a lot of sweeping going on. And these kind of moves here where, you've got a low, takes out the lows, underneath these lows over here, underneath the most common lows there, that's an area where you're like, okay, sweet, that would have been a bit of a stop area, sweep them out, and then but that's typical of gold. This is what gold loves to do. Before it makes a big move, it does a quick little shoot down. That's why I went long again, and why I didn't short in this smaller area down here. Obviously, on a smaller time frame, you can see the entries of it all, but I'm going to get rid of this because this didn't eventuate to play out. And obviously, look at 5 back up. On the reverse side, people short. Here's the highs. Comes up, clips it, and look at the reaction afterwards. Bang. Got smacked on the nose. 49 down to 32. That's $20 move. Look at how long it took to get up there. Came back down that quickly. They were coming back up again. And this is the interesting thing with these sort of things, because there's a sort of saying, I don't know if it's a saying or whatever, it's about the beach ball. Like, you can hold a sort of beach ball down underwater for so long, and the further you pull it down each time and it pops up, the greater the little pop will be up the other side. And this is the analogy that we used. I think I can't remember, maybe it was down on these breakouts over here, or possibly these breakouts over here, but it shows this kind of thing, pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it down. Eventually, when it pops, whoop, bang, up to the top side. So at the moment, what we're looking for is obviously a depletion of sellers at this level, at 47. Take out this wick high, because this wick here served a purpose to hit any sort of stops around here, or sort of just sort of like drag in some longs. Oh, here we go. We got a high. Like it look. If you sort of think about this, without this period here, call that sort of Let's just, border that. A little bit of stuff around to emphasize a small point, but whatever. Beside the point, if you look at it that this part doesn't exist. It's broken down here. It's come up here. It's up, 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 up. Here's your sort of resistance area. We know sellers are here. Comes up through here. You'd be thinking, okay, well, look, higher high. Bang, I'm going to get in. And then this is what happens. Doesn't close out the top. And this is why I say, you always need to get that close to sort of confirm these things, and not just take it out the top. And then bang, smack back down. So, sort of drags in a bunch of longs. People put their stops down under here, stops under here, stops under here, stops under here, wherever, and it just gets pulverized and knocked back down the bottom side over there. So let's get this off. All right, whatever, delete that. So this is the area that I'm interested in. It's looking like a fairly constructive open to the session. We know that sort of DXY is pretty much on its last legs, or it's not on its last legs, but certainly on a pretty sort of lower level support. This is the area here we want to get above, because we can see that the sellers, oh, I deleted that. The sellers have been here. The sellers were clearly there last night. If we push through here now, I think that's enough, because we can see that the buyers, although it did sort of sell down here a fair bit, you can see the buyers are pushing up. And that's why I like to do this, just to emphasize the points of it all, because you got your buyers down here. Your buyers have stood up and said, we'll take it here. Your buyers have stood up and said, we'll take it here. So they are giving it a very good shot. They're progressing through here at the moment. If you push through this level here, then we go, okay, where else have we seen the selling happening? Well, excuse me, this level just up here. So it's not a massive move from level to level. This is really going to be quite a strong level as well, because we can see, this was a very heavy sell down on the way up. Yeah, I mean, we're going from 57 down to, oh wait, so that's almost a $50 sell off down there. Obviously, we saw the sold through afterwards, provided a little bit of resistance when it eventually got back up to it, broke through it again, and it's resistance again, it's resistance again. So like I say every single time, it's not going to go through first time. We're not going to see this just carve through here. I mean, anything's possible, but I would say the levels that I'm looking for is a break above 47, and then between, say, 56 and 60 will be your next area where we'll see a little bit of a sort of breakout. So I think so like this, like this, like this, and then maybe back down to retest here again, and then sort of see what happens from there. Whether it sort of then maybe sort of ranges and consolidates the highs over here of this bounce, whether it sort of sells off and people say, yep, bang, and they push it back down here, like we have seen previously over here where they sold it down. In any event, I think sort of you deal with that when you get there, kind of thing. And that if you're looking for sort of like the more sort of like as a short-term intraday trade, I think this is what you're kind of looking for. I think that's a plausible level for now till we get some sort of confirmation of other levels breaking. But where we at? 10:54. So yeah, still a little while till we get the full volume in, but things are looking constructive early. But again, we know that the market likes to sell it here. So a close above this zone, close at 48, say close at 50 actually, because 48 obviously got pretty close here, 47.7, and it closed into that zone and it still didn't quite get there. So an hourly close outside this little grey box, so an hourly close above 48, 48.3, I'm going to say that's okay. Boom, we're going to see a little bit of a move, and we're going to be targeting sort of 57 to 60 for the next leg, which still gives you 10 $12 move or so to the top side over there. And we just want to see these buyers continue to sort of push and drive this thing a little bit north. The flip side of this, of course, is if it doesn't, and then if we see a retest of these buyers here, if these buyers say, nah, look, this was our effort, this was our move, we were pushing up through here, so here's our little drive, we were coming up, And if we see it come back down here and the buys aren't here, well, on we go with this bigger range, and you sort of hold off from 39, you look again around the low 30s, and then yeah, we sort of tackle things from there. So I think that's definitely the sort of way that we're moving at the moment. If we drag this across, might be able to get, yeah, that's a plausible little sort of channel for this to sort of vaguely be respecting, which again kind of works in line with coming up around this top side over here. So I think this rising support is the one to watch. If you sort of come down, shake down, bang, okay, these are the buys at this level here at 39. You want to make sure they're still keen. If they're not keen, well, that's life. And you look down a little bit lower. But we are seeing things move a little bit just right now. I'm actually got Aussie on another chart as well. Aussie's just jumped another 15 points or so. So yeah, it's things are looking a little bit sort of constructive, at least at this point of the morning. Speaking of Aussie, let's flip across because it is, as I said, taking off, bang, coming out the top side here. So this is what I talk about. So you could see the buyers were progressing, the buyers were moving up. There wasn't a direct sort of line. I mean, these three, we saw it come, but this is what we said whenever it was, that Tuesday on the video there, that this is the level. This is where you wanted to see the buyers hold. I said, look, underneath 80, look, you're really going to see a fail and come back down here. But you can see that this area through here, that's all 30. Let's put on something a little bit better. Let's put on minimum 1 hour. Okay. So you can see through here. What's this? No. Resistance, 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 support, support, support. And with this last one here is you notice the wicks come down here, but there's no closes. And look, it's not a sort of definitive thing right to the 1 point, because I did say 80 was the line to stay above and it went to kiss 78, 79. It's not the point. The fact is that, as you can see, the buyers were stepping up, were stepping up, were stepping up. We've left a big gap down here as well, by the way. So there's a thing with sort of what we call gap theory, and that, these gaps do always like to close. It's not always the case. I know sort of like with shares and that kind of stuff, typically they seem to feel a lot more in my experience than with the sort of like FX. But, gaps are generally there to sort of close. So it's not to sort of say this won't ever close, but at the moment, this is what's called a runaway gap. So we got a gap, tried to come back down to close it, boom, and it's just run away from it. So where are we at the moment? So we're seeing a couple of things sort of playing out, and this is what we've been saying through this range down the bottom here. Measured move of this range gave us our target up over here around 26 or so. That's obviously sort of like a bit of an area, supports through this area over here. That was taken out. We also, look, I was a bit sort of like iffy about this one because I wasn't quite sure as to sort of call it or not, but look, the movement has been exactly as we've planned. Up the top over here, back down, we've found support at a previous resistance, fired through here, gone up to the next level. Where are the sellers? That's the thing. You've got to keep asking yourself, where are the sellers? Well, here are the sellers here, and this is why we put our price target here. And this is almost like a little flag. Even though we didn't actually technically have the sort of the pole section of here, the price did move from this level to this level, albeit part of it being a gap. And that's why I was a little bit iffy about that. But as you're seeing, come through, it's clipping this area as well over here. So that's a measured move completion of this little flag. This is just the course of action. As I said, these lines are more price levels, not necessarily like time levels or anything like that. So what we're looking at now is obviously a break of this area. And then we're thinking, okay, where have we seen the sellers above? The thing is, with this coming down, the way that it did come down, there's so many levels through here that it can really sort of chop, chop, chop through. So, what I mean, there's great because it'll give you nice little sort of intercession trades. But it just sort of means that, what I mean, if you're one of these people that likes to just buy and hold and, you're taking it to the moon or whatever, yeah, you're going to be dealing with some heartache along the way. But that's all right. I mean, that's sort of part of the game. But so what are we looking at here? We're look at obviously this little level that we sort of had at that sort of measured move target. This has provided a bit of a support from this morning. So I think this is an area where we can see, this isn't a super strong one because you've got to see, like, the longer it holds in the area, the more of the market that's committing to that level. It obviously shot down here. It's fired back up. It's a funny time of the morning. We've got 11 o'clock right now. Things are sort of reverting a little bit from that sort of 10 to 11 hour. As I said, 12 o'clock, I think we'll get a little bit more sort of volume in. We don't actually see anything from DXY till 12 o'clock at the moment. So we've got, yeah, another hour till we have a better idea of this. Continuation is above 44 right here. Then we're looking back up to these highs over here. So up around 60. 60 is a recurring number with Aussie. I find 20, 60, and 90s to be the levels that really sort of tend to show up repeatedly with Aussie as a resistance support kind of thing. I mean, obviously there's other ones through the middles, all these sort of things like this. But for my experience, they're the zones where you're kind of going to see things halt a little bit. So a pop above 44, I think we've got a little bit of a target just up over here around this sort of 60 level. Above 60, you're looking back up to 6680s, 6680, 6690. And as I was saying, sort of like, it's not 90 on the dot, but it's around that area of it all. And this is what I was saying the other day as well. I mean, we've got this area. I just actually I put this in yesterday as well, but it's talking about gaps that don't always close. There was technically a gap through here, which I've got marked out here, which never closed. So maybe they're going to zoom up, close this one, zoom back down, close this one. Who knows? But what I've been sort of saying through the fee is if it's like the same when we saw DXY selling down, and like before it just came into ranging the lows prior to its 50 base point cut. If you're selling this thing down and you're right at the lows down here and you want to take it down here, it's better, obviously, to move it up and then sell it down from here. And this is the target that I sort of was saying, 66.90, and then drive it down there. Because this move here is a lot more profitable than this move here. And this is why I sort of like, this is what you call the pain trade, sort of like if people are short, 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 squeeze them out, drag some more in, get up to this level, and then drive it down. But this, obviously, as you can see, just by the size of the arrows, would be a much bigger trade and more beneficial to sort of really grab some more liquidity to then smash it down. So I'm not saying this is definitely the bottom. This could be the bottom. I mean, we could come back up here. I mean, as I was saying, sort of like the idea is if Trump wins, that Aussie gets smashed. If Camilla wins, Aussie's back in the game. But, there's no point sort of making a bit of a prediction about that at the moment. You just sort of trade what's on the chart and trade the price action. What we do have in front of us is a wedge. We've got a sort of breakout. We've got a sort of target, which comes up to this 67.40 level. Actually, let's drag this down because that's not the breakout level, is it? This is the breakout level here. So this is your target, 67.20 based on the wedge, measured move, breakout, up over here. So let's put a little price target here. That's your wedge price target, measured move. So that's the larger sort of picture in that. And look, I mean, this could fizzle before that. We know that. I mean, where are we at the moment? We're at the 23% retracement of that sell down. You know what I mean? If we move up, we've obviously, as I just said a second ago, we've got that sort of resistance at 66.90. You move up, you got 67.20. That's your measured move price target. We could see this is a big sort of, this is where it finally gave up. Like it kind of sort of said, oh, we're not doing it. Bang, broke down, retest, and then price was punished. So, you know what I mean? This is, again, it's not necessarily going to hit it this session or anything like this, but, it is something to think about. If we do see a break above here, again, we can look, this could be a new leg, and that could give us another leg up through here as well. So again, it's just sort of like, none of these things are like the gospel, but it's sort of going, okay, if this breaks, if this has got a little consolidation here, are we seeing yet another leg, a little breakout box through this zone here? Let's turn you into what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a zone. And this one's supposed to be a zone as well. Oh, right here. So for Aussie to sort of keep this momentum going, we need a break above, say, 66.48, 66.50, just for ease of it all. 66.50. Then you can look for this as another measured move up through here. Consolidates the highs, builds itself a little support, breaks higher. If we fail here, well, then it looks like this is probably going to be more of your course of action. So we look back at a test of 66 or, 66, 66.10, these kind of areas through here. Because, again, we see the same thing happening. This was resistance. This was resistance. This was resistance. Poked its head over here. more or less resistance. So we look for a support and a buy through here, and we look for these buyers to move up like this. This is on a break of, say, 20, probably sort of 20 to be safe in there, because there's a couple of little wicks down over here. You break 20, you look down. Look, it's not much below here. I mean, and look, anything can happen with these things. It could obviously sort of drop down a lot more. But if we drag these, we can see that as they are, it's sort of moving up on an angle here. And this would give you a third touch of this move through here, and would build yourself a little bit of a channel as well. So I think a breakdown here, I think, is plausible to sort of see if they try to sort of hold this move up over here. We have got a completion of a measured move. It's into a resistance area. There's a plausible chance that we see a little bit of a sell-off through here. DXY has been hammered pretty hard. You will see some reprieve from that. It is on a support area. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a little bit of a rebalancing. So if we see a breakdown here, look for the buys on this third touch, see for it to hold this, and see if we can get that next leg moving up through here. Again, look, if it breaks up early, if they say, look, no, we're not moving down here, and the buyers still sit, this is a good example of this. If we see that the buyers are still here and hold this zone, well, that's your price target here. If we see the buyers aren't here and they move back down to this zone down here, well, that's where you look for the next entry, 6608, to sort of move back up to the top side over there. And then, of course, if you break this level, well, it's a failed, and we come back down over here. At the moment, it's looking short-term bullish. Cool. Speaking of DXY, let's have a look. Massive gap Monday. Very interesting. And I was talking to a mate yesterday, sort of like through this period here. I was saying, look, it's coming up to like that open resistance area. Bang, came up here, second effort, and just absolutely smashed down through that level. I'm not quite sure why I had this one here. However, look, as you can see, it is continuously, look, this is what I've been saying with DXY. This is how DXY turns around. I say the same thing pretty much every day with it all, but look at this turnaround here. Looks like it's failing, jams up. Look like it's failing, jams up. Look like it's failing, jams up. Remember, this is this stupid sort of drive into Friday close off 12,000 NFP jobs. It's ridiculous. And then we look back, and let's do it on 4 hour. Make it a bit easier to find these things. Look at these tops over here. And this is what I talk about. It sells down, jams back up, sells down, jams back up, sells down, jams back up. Like, it's not sort of rocket science to sort of look back and see how these things have sort of acted in the past. Lower low, lower low, lower low. When we get that final one, bang, it drops down over here. We've got the election coming into this one here. This is another good example. Coming down, back up, down, right back up to the top, and then it gives up. Same with here. Coming down, boom. It doesn't turn around on a dime, and this is very reminiscent of it. It is rolling over with this. We are still only at the 23%. Let me see where we are actually. From the top up here. Yeah, here we are. So we are only at the 23% area of this whole move up here. So, I mean, in DXY's defense, we could still see this, or, this. These are still possible things, because remember, the idea is that sort of if Trump wins, that he's going to be hard on tariffs. If he's hard on tariffs, that's going to drive up inflation. If it drives up inflation, then it's going to cause the Fed to be more hawkish. If they're more hawkish, well, they're going to sort of either they're not going to hike rates. Well, I mean, who knows? See what happens with the CPI. Excuse me. But yeah. So I mean, look, all in all, it is still in a bullish area, but it is, as you can see, putting in significant lower highs or putting in lower lows. This last little drive up here didn't even get close to sort of coming back up over here. So we are on a support area. I mean, this is why I keep these things sort of marked out. So I'll just back a bit. So don't get confused with these ones. This is an area where we've seen buyers previously. Lo and behold, we're seeing buyers here as well. So it's no sort of shock that, it's found some support around this area. It's taken out the technical low of these things. And this is what I'd say. So same with gold a second ago. Actually, it's sort of like, there's no point putting your stop 1 point underneath the lows. Oh, that's where the textbook said put it. Because they'll shoot down here and they'll hit that. And, maybe then they'll drive it back up like this. Who knows? But the point is, it's sort of like, there's no point having your stops at any sort of ridiculous levels. This is the level that I sort of called out the other day. Like this was the price target through the measured move of this channel. This one got hit and flew back up. That was after NFP. I said though, whenever it was, that constructively this was the more likely price target. Again, this is levels, not time. Like it's obviously sort of it's come here, but the point is still the same. This is the level that I say as a full sort of setup as a USD move, constructive move. This was an area that you would see it sort of come back to, and obviously we've hit that second price target now, and market sort of halted it there. We'll see what happens through the session today. Remember, we've got FOMC at the end of the week, Friday morning, 6 a.m. Melbourne time. Expectation for that is a 25 base point cut. So a little bit of this sell-off here will be a little bit of the, hey, hold on, wait, maybe it's not so clear cut with Trump winning, and also it'll be a little bit of a, well, we do actually have a cut coming. So Trump winning and cut coming. So, this explains part of this sort of sell down through here, and people to sort of just peeling back their sort of exposure a little bit. It doesn't mean that necessarily we're just going to see a continued meltdown over here. Obviously, if we see a break of this level, of this up here, and okay, taking out wick support lows and that. If we see this sort of move come down through here, then we could see a little bit of a push down, and we'd probably be looking around this zone next, I would say. 103, around that sort of area here. We could see a little bit of an exchange supports and that sort of on the way up through here. Not a major level, but it's a round number. If it does come down here quickly, I'd imagine a fairly decent bounce, just based on the fact of how fast it is sort of coming down. It would be like for it a downside move. You'd almost want a little bit of an effort to hold this support area and then a breakdown. I think that'd be sort of more constructive. As I'm talking that, we're seeing everything reverse back a little bit here. Aussie's just dropped 20 points off the highs in 13 minutes. We've just seen gold hit 46, now back down to 42. Silver 70 down to 62. So yeah, certainly a lot of sort of interesting price action going on around here, and it's very, very whippy. You know what I mean? Like this isn't a sort of buy and hold sort of situation. This is a sort of, you see profit, lock it in kind of thing. So we'll see what happens in 45 minutes or so when we see, DXY open up and sort of see what the market wants to do. But at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised, just based off at least the price action that we're seeing right this moment, to see a little bit of a gap up, see a little bit of a rally off this level here. This is a known area. We can see the buyers held it, buyers held it. So just after the 23%, I push up like this, and then I'm looking for a move down like that. So a little bit of a sort of hold, maybe retest the underside of these supports over here. So let's put a little zone in through here, because you can see that they tried to hold this on the way up. Sorry, on the way down, support there, a little bit of this maybe falling range thing here. There we go, call this zone. That's probably, well, not probably, that is what I'm sort of looking for. A retest of the underside of 103.65, which will give maybe a move through Asia. See that sort of like cooling off, as I said, that'll get your Aussie back down a little bit. And then sort of maybe see for it to sort of tackle the lows through here, through Europe, and see if they can drive it down through here. As I said, some sort of counts are starting soon. I'm going to look into this a little bit closer. And sort of see what happens with that. But I think it's going to be whippy. That's my expectation, that you're going to hear a report that, hey, one state has been finished counting and they're Republican. One is finished and they're Democrat, and that was a big one. So, and I think you're going to see the market react to all these headlines throughout the day. So I expect it's going to be quite whippy and a tough sort of trade. But for me, as a structural sort of trade, I think this looks fairly decent. If we go above that, then obviously we got yesterday's highs, which is that sort of area up around 103.90. And I think that again will offer a little bit of a sell down. As to whether it'll come down like this again, hard to say. I'd say if you get back up here, there's a good chance you're going to be going through. But of course, then you've got to deal with your falling resistance as well, which obviously can give you a little bit of a confluence to see something like that back down like this if we do get up around this area, depending when we come into it, of course. All right. So that's DSY. Across silver. Silver's, yeah, I mean, look, it broke through this little falling resistance. It broke through its rising support, and now it's just consolidating. Excuse me. Above 33.10 for an upside move. Below 32.25 for a downside move. This is what I was saying the other day, though, is I said this negative divergence is getting stronger and stronger, really. Well, it's starting to rip up here a little bit more, but you're not seeing any of this sort of sell down pressure, which to me sort of seems more like they're just absorbing this. So we're going to put a little breakout box around this. Say this is our little range. They're the areas that I'm looking for as a bigger move. I think sort of for the time being, we're looking at just little into levels like this. Let's see how. So it means that sort of like through the session, if you can see it up around 32.80, that's an area where you can expect some selling. You see if they hold this level at sort of 56. If they don't, you look down at sort of 30. So any dips down here, expect to be bought up. Any sort of move up over here, I'd expect it probably for the time being. I don't see us seeing a major breakout till we have a bit more of a sort of clarity of what's happening with the US. And again, we've still got FOMC coming up as well. Just flip across because in terms of news and all that kind of stuff with Aussie yesterday, of course, we had the RBA rate decision, which was held again, and they're touting, they've held rates. They've held rates for a year. That's crazy. I mean, very hawkish talk, but they've held rates for a year. Um, Bullock's attitude, in my opinion, her language was still quite bullish. Hawkish, same sort of thing. Bullish for the Aussie, hawkish overall. And I think that is what really got us a nice little breakout yesterday. That, and of course, US dollar selling off. That's probably also a pretty strong driver, but it just supports the idea. And with that, you're sort of seeing that sort of like, they say, the sort of the typical sort of cliche word of, hey, we're not ruling anything in, we're not ruling anything out. Okay, that's great, good on you. However, so I'm just looking at this. Aussie's getting smacked off that level. We're going to come down here. So it looks like we might be seeing a depletion of buyers down this level over here, and we'd be looking down at 66.09. So I'll see how this sort of plays out here. But yeah, anyway, sort of her attitude towards it was still very much, look, there's work to be done. There's one more rate decision this year, then they're off in January, and then they're back in Feb. So Feb's looking like it's the time for them to sort of potentially do the rate rise. Again, you got to get the data to support it, and I think a lot of people get a little bit caught up in emotions and think that, oh, it's surely they must be doing this for Christmas and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, short-term happiness of thrill, and then, inflation goes back up, housing goes crazy, people spend like idiots, and that's the story with it all. So, yeah, I've been saying all year, I don't think there's any cuts coming this year, and it's looking like it's pretty much sort of confirmed at the moment. Copper. Copper got a breakout eventually. Was I part of it? No. I, not to sort of toot my own horn, but this is played out perfectly. This is the rounded bottom. down into this buy zone, 61%. I called that from up over here. I called the rounded bottom and that, and through this area here, and we went up and down, up and down, up and down. Boom. I've covered this every single day about my sort of trades through here. I sold this little spike here, got back in, sold here, stopped here, and I just said, no, look, this is it. It's a heartbreaker, man. But look, we did get the breakout, and it's traded very well with these levels that we've marked out. Sellers were here, sellers were there again. Came back down here. These were the sort of resistance areas. Now it's been the support area. Came up here one more time, bang, went through. When it broke through, where did it go to? Well, it went to where we had marked out. We had it marked out to sort of say, these are where the sellers are. These are where the sellers are. It's closed that gap and came up here. Lo and behold, sellers are there again. So, there's no sort of like shocker that we see a little bit of a pushback and sell down from here. As I said, look, US dollar's pretty oversold with it all. Aussie's hitting its price high. Aussie's getting pulverized here. It's just dropped 30 points in, how long is this? 30 points in 30 minutes. Wow. So, yeah, really sort of coming back down at the moment. So it'll be interesting to sort of see where these things do sort of go to. Um, so just bear with me 2 seconds. It is getting absolutely creamed from the top there. So, one sec, one sec. All right, I just had to check this sort of news, and I think this emphasizes the point perfectly. This is the first thing that sort of comes up on the notifications of that. Vice President Kamala Harris will win Vermont, and former President Trump will win Kentucky, and marking the first two states of the presidential election called and the Democrat thing. And look at the reactions of these markets. You know what I mean? Bang, smack back down. I mean, that's on a like, look at this on a shorter time frame. Do 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 do. This is exactly what we kind of sort of feel will be happening with the markets today, and I think this is going to be sort of back and forward and back and forward. So, yeah, I mean, this is at 11:23 at the moment. Things are getting absolutely walloped. Gold's down $10. Silver's down what 30 cents or so. Aussie, as you can see, sort of really sort of getting smacked on the nose from that level up the top over here as well. So that's okay. I mean, look, it's not sort of like why is this happening? Well, we know why it's happening. So all we can do is kind of trade that. Anyway, going back, copper. Yep, copper's getting smacked as well. That's fine. Let's get onto a better time frame. Look, push back over here. It's hard to call through here. I would say maybe down. I don't think this may be a little bit of a level, a little bit of a ledge through here. So I'll mark this up as a potential because we could see that, it was a bit of a resistance, was a little bit of a support to see if this area through here holds. Wow. So one sec, this is just getting absolutely pulverized. Jeez. All right. Let's keep going. We got China, and wow, look at the reaction there. Jeez. Push back down, and this has just really taken off. Has there been any other data out or something? I don't know. Like, can it really just be because we've got sort of two sort of bits of news about sort of different places we've gone? Unemployment rate from New Zealand was that this morning. Monetary policy minutes, maybe the Japanese minutes. Was that half an hour ago? Was that time of the sell down? No, we saw a little spike up on that sort of point. No, look, I'm pretty much attributing this just to, as I said, the sort of news that's going to be coming out with the sort of like the election. I think that's just going to be it, and this is what you can expect for the next uh, maybe the next week or so. Who knows? But yeah, look, China obviously bang coming back up into this area over here. We know this is a known sell area. We've got it marked out. We can see that it held yesterday, came down, didn't make a new low. So I think at best you hold a range through here. Otherwise, it looks to sort of move back up into this former sort of range up at the top over here. But we'll have to sort of wait and see how that sort of plays out. Just bear with me 2 seconds. All right, cool. So better sort of wrap it up because I've got to sort of manage a couple of positions with this little sell down. Um, but I think that's pretty much it for the moment. That's the charts done. News wise, not really anything through Asia other than the sort of the presidential election sort of stuff going on. So I expect pretty whippy sort of stuff. Through Europe, we've got a bunch of PMIs coming out. 50 is the baseline with these sort of things. Most of them look fairly strong. We'll see how they sort of pan out. They're not really big market movers, these ones over here. And then sort of early hours of the morning, don't really have anything else as well. So that's about it. All right, that's it from me.